Welcome to Wake Up Productive Week 11. The title of this section is Renewal. One word, renewal. This might be the most important and powerful word when it comes to making yourself as productive as you can possibly be. Renewal. You might want to write the word down. We have built up over the last couple of months of this program to really get to this point. This is kind of the climax. This is the high point. This is the most intense material you're going to learn. It's the most challenging material that you're going to learn. You can consider everything that we've learned up till now the preparation for this section. So hopefully by now you've been doing your personal morning success ritual, right? Your personal strength ritual religiously and doing it every single morning, making yourself strong first. Also now, you should be working in 60-60-30 time chunks at work and doing at least half of your day in those specific formats and doing your most important things first without distraction or interruption. And also over the last couple of weeks, you've learned the tools of visualizing your ideal day. Hopefully you're doing that on a daily basis. You're visualizing your ideal day and comparing it to your day. And you're starting to see how the connection between your imagination and seeing it in your mind and seeing it in reality works, and how you're reminded to make sure and do things the way that would be the most ideal. Also, you learned about aligning the different parts of yourself and trying to resolve some of the inner conflict. Now, we're going to talk about renewal because I think that it's actually the ultimate foundation for massive success and productivity. So what is renewal, and why am I talking about it, and how does it work? Well, I first learned about the importance of renewal over 10 years ago when my mentor, Jerry Ballinger, told me to read the book, The Paradox of Success by John O'Neill. And in that book, John O'Neill talks about the dark side of success, and he talks about how sometimes in our drive to become successful, we become blind, we become addicted to work, we become workaholics, and we become so fascinated with the idea of success that it becomes not enough that we succeed, but other people have to fail, and it brings out this dark competitive side of us. When John finally talks about what it takes to prevent this and to actually create a balanced, sustainable life where you can have success and joy and fulfillment, it all comes down to, you guessed it, renewal. Renewing the body, the mind, the emotions, the spirit. And over the years, as I've used this concept and I've studied it deeper, I've realized that there's an aspect to renewal, or there's a way of looking at it that I had never realized before, and that almost no one that I've ever met or talked to has realized before. And I think it's really the key to renewal. And here's what that is. Our bodies and our emotions and our minds and our spirits, if you will, actually have natural systems where they renew themselves. They actually have systems that are built in where they go through and they take all the old junk and they get rid of them, and they bring in the new, and they put new building blocks in place, and they replace the weak links, and they take the sick cells and they get rid of them, and they put new healthy cells in place. And this happens on all of these different levels. And the real insight here is not that these processes exist, but it's that they can't really be affected consciously. That you can't say to your body, okay, what I'd like you to do is go in and get rid of all the cancer cells right now. You can't go in and say to your emotions, okay, what I'd like you to do is just stop being depressed right now, stop feeling bad, we're going to start feeling better right now. You can't do that and have those things respond. In most cases, most people can't control their thoughts at all, right? As we learned in this program, we have what's called the monkey mind, the inner butterflies, where our mind and our emotions just go off and they're triggered, and we realize hours later, wow, how did all that time go by? And wow, I was thinking about all that weird negative stuff, or I got off track. And when you realize this, when you really get that you can't control these different levels in the moment with your conscious mind, and unless you're very highly trained, like a yogi who's sat in a cave on a blanket for 40 years, And until you realize that you can't do it, that we just can't do that, you can't have the breakthrough you need to really understand renewal. So in this particular section, I'm going to try to help you have those breakthroughs and get those understandings so that you can go and give your body, your emotions, your mind, your spirit, the basic building blocks that they need so that they can renew themselves. Now, it takes commitment, it takes discipline, it takes action to bring those basic building blocks to yourself, and it takes commitment and discipline and action to stop doing the things that hurt those processes. Okay, so on the one hand, we have to stop doing the things that hurt our own internal processes, our natural processes that stand in their way. And then we have to consciously bring in the building blocks so that those processes can take care of themselves. So let's talk a little bit about what some of those are. On a physical level, most people say, I want to feel better. I want to have more energy. I want to feel more energized. I want to feel more like I want to just go, grab the world by the horns and I want to make something happen. I want to feel like, yes, but they have no idea how to do it, okay? Well, get this. Your body wants to feel that way too. Your body wants to feel energized. It wants to feel great. And in fact, it has all of the systems in place to make you feel great all the time, to feel energized, and to feel like you want to go take action. And if you don't feel that way, then it probably means that you're not giving your body the natural building blocks that it needs to feel that way. Now we've talked about, I've woven a lot of this into the program, by the way, so that hopefully you're getting some of the benefits right now. As an example, your body needs water. Why does it need water? Well, something like 60 or 80% of all of your weight in your body is made up of pure water. Water is what your cells use on the cellular level to clean themselves, to carry nutrients around, to do a whole bunch of different things. And if you don't give yourself a lot of fresh, clean water on a regular basis, your cells and your organs and your tissues, they don't have the building blocks they need to do their job. They can't clean themselves, they can't renew themselves, and they can't do the processes that give you energy. It would be like taking your car and not putting any oil or any gas in it, and then taking it out and driving it. Imagine how much that would stress out your car and how much faster it would wear out. We have this spectacular system inside of our bodies called the immune system. And the immune system, okay, a lot of people think, well, the immune system is only there for if we get sick to fight off the sickness. And that's not really what the immune system is about at all. The immune system is here to keep you from getting sick in the first place. The immune system is here to fight off the enemy and to keep all of our health systems running perfectly so that we don't get sick. And sure, if we do get sick, the immune system gets all pumped up and it gets activated and it heats your body up and gives you a fever and makes all these different changes inside of you to fight off the sickness like a war. But here's the reality of the situation. If you get sick, then you've already screwed up. Okay, you screwed up before you got sick. It's not about getting sick and then trying to figure out how to get better. It's figuring out how to keep your immune system in top shape so you don't get sick in the first place. So that's just one of the many amazing systems that our body has on a basic fundamental level that we don't even really think about and we don't address and we don't give it basic building blocks. How about your emotional system? Your emotional system has all kinds of natural, miraculous built-in processes to help you when you see something, an opportunity in front of you to take advantage of, that it builds you up and it releases all of these chemicals and it makes you feel more optimistic and it makes you feel more like being energized and motivated and inspired. It also has natural systems built in so that if you lose someone in your life, if someone, God forbid someone dies, or if a relationship is broken in some way, that you go through a time when it pulls you down and you go through a natural cycle of grieving, okay? All of these are natural processes that we have wired in. What do a lot of people do? They block their emotions when they come up and they don't let them work. And then they carry tension around in some part of their body, and it's actually emotional tension. It's not really a physical tension at all, okay? psychologically or mentally, the mental process that we have. I mean, this is, we could talk for literally for weeks just about this one area. The mind has many, many, many very complex, very specialized processes for keeping itself healthy, most of which we don't even understand yet. There are theories about what happens when you sleep and when you dream, that's your mind's time to go work out what it learned during the day. It's your mind's time to take all of the hard things that it couldn't look at when you were awake and to process them and to have them come up in a little bit different format or veiled with other concepts or with maybe a skin on them or playing out in a drama in a different way so it makes it easier for you to understand. There are many different processes that are happening inside of your mind that are there to keep it healthy, to keep it running correctly. And if you don't know what to do to keep those processes supported, then they won't work out. They won't keep working. They won't function right. So renewal is not just about resting, and it is about resting. It's not just about taking time off. It's not just about eating some healthy foods, but it's about proactively giving your body, emotions, mind, spirit the basic building blocks that they need so that they can do their own jobs correctly, so that they can keep you healthy, they can keep you energized, they can keep you optimistic and happy, they can keep you thinking very clearly. Now, sometimes the price, by the way, for being energized most of the time and feeling happy and feeling inspired most of the time and being able to think clearly most of the time is taking time off, is relaxing, is exercising and having to do hard work with your body, is having to be in intimate, close relationships with other people where you risk having your heart broken or losing a person, or it is learning to focus on one thing at a time, getting rid of distractions and interruptions, not putting negative influences into your head like reading gossip magazines or watching the news or hanging out with negative people that just want to complain. Sometimes there are trade-offs, right? It is hard to do these things sometimes, but it is so worth it because when you give your body, your emotions, your mind, your spirit the basic building blocks that it needs, it knows what to do and it will do things that you just can't do consciously. So I've mentioned that an important part of renewal is just pure rest and relaxation. Earlier in the other sessions, we talked about taking regular breaks, about getting away, about taking time off, these types of things. They're very, very important to do. Okay, it's very important that you take regular breaks throughout the day. It's very important that you take entire days off every week, ideally at least a couple. It's very important that maybe once a quarter you take a week and just get completely away from your business. Very, very important. Now I'd like to zoom in a little bit and I'd like to talk about resting a little bit more. I want to really narrow into this idea because if you don't rest, if you don't learn to relax, if you don't do this on a regular basis and you don't address the things that are preventing you from doing it, you'll still be stressed out. And even if you try to give your body, your emotions, your mind, your spirit the basic building blocks, they won't be able to use them, right? If you don't sleep, if you sleep 2 hours a night, it doesn't matter if you drink a lot of water and eat a lot of healthy food and have a good relationship. Your body's still going to be so stressed out that it won't be able to use those things to renew you. So I want to talk about two concepts here. One of them I call rest resistance, and one of them I call rest anxiety. You might want to write these down. Rest resistance and rest anxiety. Now, what are these concepts and what do they mean? What I've found is that when I talk to people and I say you need to rest more, you need to get a full night's sleep, test getting 9 hours sleep a night and see what that does to your productivity level. Or test taking 2 days in a row every week off completely, or getting away from your business for 1 week a quarter. A person will say, I couldn't do that. Or, when I take a day off, all I do is I worry about work all day. And so this is the resistance to rest. And it actually happens on a physical and emotional and on a logical level. So we feel anxiety when we even think about resting. If we try to rest, our emotions get riled up because we feel like we should be doing something else or we feel guilty for resting. Or on a physical level, and this one's very insidious, we try to rest and relax, but because we're clenching our muscles unconsciously, they don't relax, and we don't know what to do to get them to relax. So we've got the anxiety about resting, where we just resist doing it in the first place, and then we've got the resistance to rest, where when we go try to rest, we can't make our mind calm down. We can't keep our emotions calm down. We feel guilty about it. We can't get our body to unclench. So we're going to talk about a few exercises to get ourselves to rest correctly later on in this session. But for now, I just want to bring your consciousness to the idea that if you're experiencing some resistance or some anxiety when you try to rest, that's perfectly natural, it's perfectly normal. A lot of people go through it, but you've got to go through it, and you've got to go all the way through it, and you've got to be committed to coming out the other side where you can take time off throughout your day, time off every week, time off every quarter, completely get away from your business, completely go into a place where you can relax your mind, your body, and emotions without any guilt or anxiety. You've got to get to that place. And until you're there, until you are regularly taking breaks, resting your body, renewing yourself kind of in a physical, emotional, logical way without any type of guilt, any type of feeling of, oh, I should be working right now, then you haven't arrived there yet, and you got to keep working on it. Very, very important. Now, one of the things we talked about earlier in Wake Up Productive is this idea of the ultradian cycle that your body has, where every 90 to 120 minutes, your body says, you know what, I just want to chill out and relax, and that's the time when you want to take a 20 or a 30-minute break, where you want to completely relax, maybe have a small meal, zone out, take a nap, do some meditation, just lay down and let your mind wander. You want to do that on a regular basis. Well, actually, every system that we have does this. I read in one book that they've discovered now that the body has something like 200 different cycles that it's going through. 200 different wave-like cycles. Everything from how fast your heart is beating, to how fast you're breathing, to the ultradian cycle, to the circadian cycle of day and night, to how fast you blink your eyes. I mean, all of these different things are happening inside of our minds, hundreds of them, and we've got to honor those things. So it's very important that you start becoming aware of the cycles that you go through and honoring them, being okay with them, noticing them, welcoming them. If you start to feel tired at a particular time of day every day, that might be the time of day to start taking a nap. If you start feeling unfocused at a particular time of day, that might be the time of day when you should stop working for an hour and go do something completely different. If there's a particular time of day when you feel the most focused and energized, that's probably the time of day to work on the type of work when you need to have the most focus and energy to work on it. By honoring these things, I think that you'll find just getting into rapport with your own mind and body and emotions by lining them up and going with what your natural rhythms are, that one thing alone can just increase your satisfaction with life dramatically. Now, I'd like to address some of the key systems that you have inside of your body, and that I have in my body too, that most people just neglect. They don't really pay attention to them. They don't pay attention to the cycles and the waves and the movement and how to use them and how to give them the basic building blocks. But I'm going to talk about a few of the key systems and how to optimize them, how to give them the basic things that they need so that they can give you the energy, the focus, the optimism that you want out of them. Okay, so the first system I'd like to talk about is your digestive system. Your digestive system is so important because it is literally the system that allows you to take food and water and convert it into fuel, to convert it into nutrients, convert it into the basic building blocks that your body needs to replace its cells, to give you all the chemicals that you use to produce emotions, to create new brain cells and neural connections. Literally, it all goes through the digestive system. Most people have never thought about how their digestive system works. So here are a couple of little tips. When you eat your food, chew your food at least 25 to 30 times because digestion starts right here in the mouth. Your saliva starts to break down the food. But even more importantly, as you're chewing and you're breaking it down, your body is figuring out what kind of food it is. You actually have several different types of taste buds in your mouth, and they're tasting and they're figuring out what's in there. And then your stomach starts to create the ideal chemical breakdown mix so that when the food goes in there, it decomposes it and it breaks it down and it allows the rest of your digestive system to take all those nutrients out of it. So your body actually creates a unique chemical stew, if you will, every time you eat a meal based on the exact ingredients of what you ate in that meal. And it breaks down the food according to what you ate and the chemical stew that it made in relationship to it. Now, what a lot of people do, they don't realize this, is they'll eat some food, they won't chew it very much, they'll kind of swallow it, and then a little while later they'll eat some more food and they'll kind of chew it a little bit and then they'll swallow it and then they'll eat some more food, not thinking about what their stomach is going through. I mean, number one, not thinking about whether there's any nutrients in it to begin with, which almost no food that's on the shelf at the supermarket has any kind of nutrients, any kind of real nutrient value in it. And they're not thinking about what their stomach is going to do with it once the food shows up to be consumed. So, as a practice, one of the things that I like to do that really works well for me is I try to eat every 2.5 hours, and I try to eat small meals. And I do this because it takes the stomach about 2.5 hours or so to digest and then pass on to the small intestine a little meal of maybe 300 or 400 calories. And I try to not snack in between, because if you eat a meal of 300 or 400 calories or whatever you eat and you put it into your stomach and then an hour later you put more food in, your stomach is only partially digested the food, right? It's only part of the way through digesting the food, and now you've put some new food in that requires a different chemical mix to break it down. And so then the stomach has to say, okay, what do we do here? Do we put in some more chemicals? And it gets very confused, and it screws up your system. A lot of people that have heartburn and other issues, I've noticed consistently, they do this. They put a lot of different types of food in different combinations, and they don't let their body completely digest it. So digestive system, very important. And about a half hour before I eat each of my meals, I try to drink a half liter of water, because my stomach is usually just about finished digesting and the water can go in then. It doesn't dilute my stomach acid, right? It doesn't confuse the whole process. My body can use the water immediately. Another one, don't drink while you're eating food. This is a tough one for a lot of people, but when you drink liquids, it dilutes your stomach acid. It dilutes the mix that your stomach is making. So there's one little simple thing that you can do to support the basic, most fundamental process in your body, which is taking in food and water, taking in nutrients, and converting those into the cells of your body, into your emotions, and into your brain cells and neural connections, and so forth. So you might want to try doing something like that. Another system that most people don't really think much about is their respiratory system, the system that takes in oxygen and gets rid of carbon dioxide. It's our lungs, basically. And they don't know all of the intricate things that are happening there. It turns out that our lungs are miraculous. They're these miraculous devices that take all of our blood and they run it up through these little tiny capillaries and these amazing little tubes, and they put it right up next to the air that's coming in so that the red blood cells can grab the oxygen and then make it travel through our bodies. Now, most people don't even know where the blood cells and blood vessels show up in their lungs, and they don't realize that most of their lung capacity and most of the blood vessels that allow them to collect oxygen are in the lower part of their lungs. And so most people are sucking in their gut or hunched over, and they're breathing high in their chest, and they're using the part of their lungs that doesn't even have the most blood vessels in it. Andrew Weil, who wrote the famous book 8 Weeks to Optimum Health, who's a very revered natural doctor and an MD, he says that if he had to teach someone just one technique to making themselves healthier, it would be breathing, how to breathe better. And I've learned that since I've started using breathing techniques that it's really increased my energy, my focus, and I just can't tell you. So how do you start doing this? Well, you start breathing deeper. You start breathing from down here when you breathe. Instead of breathing from up in your chest like this, you breathe from down in your stomach. Watch the way a baby breathes, okay? Because children know how to breathe naturally. They haven't been poisoned kind of by our culture and by images. So learn to breathe deeply. And do it consciously. Do it consciously. I try to take many breaks throughout the day where I consciously stop and breathe in and breathe out very slowly and very, very deeply. And I found that just by breathing 5 or 10 deep, slow breaths, I can actually feel the oxygen going into my body and like supercharging me. It clears my emotions, it clears my mind, it just it just charges me up. It's amazing. So start breathing. Give your body the oxygen that it needs to renew itself and to energize you. Let's talk about your musculoskeletal system, right, which is a combination of your muscles and your skeleton. Musculoskeletal system, right? Obvious. I learned something once from someone that was fascinating. She said, your body balances itself while it's moving. That your body actually knows how to balance itself. It knows how to line itself up. It knows how to fix things that are out of place. But it does this while it's moving, not while it's sitting still. And I thought, wow, that's really fascinating. And if you just look at the human body, you'll realize it just becomes obvious. It's apparent that it was made to move. Our bodies were designed for use, to walk, to grasp things, to pick things up, to embrace other people, to walk, to do all these different things. And so, if you are not spending at least 30 to 60 minutes a day moving your body around in a natural, healthy way, you're not giving your body the basic building blocks that it needs to renew itself. I recommend that you do at least 20 to 30 minutes a day of aerobic exercise, working all of your big muscle groups. This will also, by the way, cause you to breathe deeper and heavier, so you'll get more oxygen inside of you, so it helps your respiratory system, helps your heart, your circulation. I started working out regularly now probably a couple of years ago. Before my current regimen, let's just call it, before my current ritual of exercise, I would do some exercise for a while and then I would not do it for a while. And I was very on again, off again, and very inconsistent. But I finally started doing it in the morning first thing. That was the big key for me. First thing when I wake up, 20 to 30 minutes of good, strong aerobic exercise. And I do a little bit of weights, and I do a few pull-ups, and I do some abdominal exercise, and I do a few other things in there, and I do some yoga. But the cardiovascular exercise, the real getting the heart rate up, is the thing that's done it for me. And I was looking, maybe 2.5 years ago or so, I went and had my blood tested because I have a close friend who was looking at my kind of nutritional profile and looking at my blood and deciding which nutrients and so forth were low and which were high, and what I needed to do to get them balanced. And when I went to give blood, the person that was taking my blood, he said, "Oh, you don't work out, huh?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, you've got no blood vessels. It's hard to find one of your veins or whatever to stick the needle in." And I said, "Well, that's interesting." And I went recently again to give blood, and when I pulled up my sleeve to look at my arm, I realized that I had all of these huge blood vessels that are running now through my arms and through other parts of my body. I could see them. And now with further study, what I've realized is that by doing the exercise, by moving my body has miraculously gone and created bigger, stronger, more efficient blood vessels, and it's made it so that it can pump the blood through my body better. And it's crazy. It's like it's one of the most miraculous things I've ever seen. It's just weird. It's cool. It's very interesting. So make sure that you move your body. Make sure that you're using yourself in a way that gets your heart rate up, working your big muscle groups, working your legs, working your chest, your arms, your abdominals, your back. Make sure and use those every single day, because it makes stronger muscles, it makes stronger ligaments, it makes stronger bones. And also make sure that you stretch every day as well. You got to stretch these muscles out, all the main muscle groups, and use them. Because if you just use them without stretching, you'll run into a problem that a lot of bodybuilders have, which is they lose flexibility. Their muscles get so tense that they can't really move around very well, and they start looking like robots. So use exercise to give your body the basic building blocks it needs to build your musculoskeletal system. Now, I mentioned your immune system earlier. This one is so important because this particular system is the one that keeps you healthy. Right now, you have millions, probably billions of cells that are running through your body that have some kind of virus running around inside of them, or a bacteria in there, or the cell is deformed or strange and it needs to be eliminated. We've all got these running through us at all times. Tons of them, more than you can imagine. And a super healthy person also has them running through their body. What's the difference? Well, the person that doesn't get sick is someone that keeps their immune system strong. Part of the immune system, by the way, is what's called the lymphatic system, or the lymph system. We've actually got this liquid that's flowing through our bodies that moves around and supports our immune system and allows it to kind of cleanse us and to carry those deformed cells and those viruses and bacteria and things that we don't want, carry them to sites on the body where they can be eliminated. What I've also learned about the lymph system is that unlike the blood system, the cardiovascular system, it doesn't have a pump like the heart. It's a system that is moved through movement. So when you get up and you move around and you walk, your muscles tensing and relaxing, movement, gravity, this is what moves lymph around the body. And so if you're not moving your body around on a regular basis, also doing things like standing up while you're working so that you're sitting down and standing up and laying down and standing up and changing the orientation of your body and using your different muscles, these things are what move the lymph around. And if you're not doing that stuff, then your lymph can't transport all of these kind of problematic cells and viruses out of your body. And if your lymphatic system can't carry these problematic cells and bacteria and other things out of your body, guess what? They build up. And guess what happens when they build up? Right, they hit a tipping point, a critical mass, and then your body can't fight them off anymore. And then you get sick, and then your body has to marshal all your resources, and that's when you get taken out of the game for a couple of weeks while you're sick and trying to recover. So you've got to support your immune system. And things like getting enough rest, right? You got to get enough sleep every night. Very, very important. Go to sleep early enough so that you can wake up naturally most of the time. You got to drink plenty of water. You got to eat food that has nutrients in it, okay? Anything that has processed sugar, flour, white anything, white rice, white sugar, white flour, these things have essentially no nutrients that your body can use. When you see the word enriched with, that probably means that they put a form of something in that you really can't use. My rule of thumb is try to eat as close to raw and organic as possible for every meal. Raw organic foods contain the highest amounts of nutrients and enzymes that your body can actually use when they go inside. And your immune system needs these things to build the basic building blocks that keep you healthy. And I know I probably sound like a tree-hugging fanatic right now, but I really mean this. I really mean that if you start eating this way, you'll feel better. Your immune system will kick into high gear, and you'll do better. In the last 2 years, since I've really gotten my health dialed and I've gotten these systems dialed, and I eat really close to raw organic at most meals, I essentially don't get sick anymore. It's like a miracle. I was working very hard, kind of overworking myself there for a while. I was starting to get sick a lot. I finally said, okay, it's time to do something about this. I started using a lot of the principles that eventually became the Wake Up Productive program. And now, once in a while, maybe every 6 or 12 months, it seems, I'll start to feel that feeling of, am I trying to get sick? Or like there's something, a tickle in the back of my throat, or the signal that used to mean you're about to get sick. And now I feel it. And then it just, by the next day, it just goes away. It's gone. My body has fought it off. So you've got to support your immune system with the nutrients it needs, the water it needs, the rest it needs, and the movement of your body to help the lymph system, okay? And of course, all these other things that we're talking about as well. So support your immune system. Now, there are several other systems, and you should become interested in this and actually study it yourself. The last one I want to talk about is your emotional system, okay? Your emotional system. What is a healthy emotional system, and how do you make it work? Well, I really have no idea, okay? And I don't think that most people have any idea either, but we're starting to figure out that your emotions are very important. Emotions are used in decision making. Emotions are used, obviously they tell you how happy you are, how optimistic, how pessimistic, and so forth. So a couple of pointers just quickly for keeping your emotional system healthy. Some people that are highly rational and logical, and I've noticed that a lot of business people tend to sometimes suffer from this perspective, they believe that healthy emotions are controlled emotions. And they also believe that emotions are just basically a nuisance, they're an annoyance, and that if one comes up, they should just put it out of their mind and try to push it away. Well, your emotions really are very, very powerful. They are some of the most addictive chemicals on the planet. And a lot of us are addicted to unhealthy emotions. So if we get ourselves into a situation where we can feel like the victim and we can blame someone else and we can have a pity party for ourselves, we do that all day long. Well, that's not very healthy, and that's taxing your emotional system. So you got to notice when you're going into negative emotions and you're rationalizing it and justifying it. And you got to stop doing that. Because when you do it, you rob yourself like 3 different ways, and you hurt yourself like 3 different ways. You hurt your emotional system, you hurt yourself with a habit that gets you into it, and you also hurt yourself with the paradigm, or the whole perspective that you're a victim. There are a lot of ways that you can work on negative emotions, right? We can't get into that here. You might need to go for some therapy. I recommend going to the Landmark Forum. That's something that can help you get in touch with where you're using negative emotions to get attention, or to kind of have, like I said, like have a pity party for yourself. But you're going to want to work on getting rid of negative emotions, and being attached to negative emotions and being addicted to negative emotions. And then on the other side, you want to try to inspire positive emotions as much as possible. And this involves doing things that make you feel good inside, connecting with other human beings, helping other people get to the next level. So mentoring folks, doing things for other people without expecting anything in return, giving to charitable organizations. These types of things bring a real sense of well-being. They tend to help you feel like you're making a difference, you're making an impact, and I think they really affect your emotional system positively. And finally, remember that emotions go in waves. So when you experience a positive emotion, know that you're on a wave, and it's going to come back down and it's going to go away, and that's okay. Enjoy that. If you're in the middle of a negative emotion, don't get too freaked out about it. Experience it. Let it flow through your body. Ride the wave. Notice where you feel it in your body. Notice where it moves to next, and be okay with it. And if you sit with your emotion, you experience it, you accept it, you welcome it, and you just ride it out, you'll find that your emotional system will stay healthier. It will flow better than if you try to stop your emotions. Or if you're having a negative emotion and then you get upset about having a negative emotion, and then you have anxiety about getting upset about having a negative emotion. These just stack and they become very complex. So allow your emotions to flow, respect them and honor them as the wave-like forms that they are, and don't get too freaked out if you get into one, and don't get too addicted to one that happens. Just experience them. Let them flow through you. So there's just kind of a little tip on emotional health and how to keep your emotional system healthy and renewing itself, so to speak. So for your exercise this week, we're going to do 2 different things. Number 1, we're going to try to take stress off of our systems. We're going to try to de-stress our key systems. And then number 2, we're going to try to bring in as many basic building blocks of renewal that we can to our different systems so that they can renew themselves, because our systems already know what to do. We can't do it consciously. The best we can do is we can just bring in the basic building blocks. So get out 2 blank pieces of paper right now. 2 blank pieces of paper. And what I'd like to ask you to do is make 3 lists. 3 lists. Where do you need to take stress off of your physical system, your emotional system, and your mind, or your logical system, your brain? Okay? So make those 3 lists right now. On the physical system, you might need to take stress off of your body by getting more sleep. Okay, that might be one, because maybe you're just taxing your body too much. You're not getting enough rest. Another thing that you might need to do to take stress off of your physical system is to stop putting unhealthy food or unhealthy chemicals in. If you're eating a bunch of processed, refined food, or you're drinking a lot of caffeinated beverages or taking different types of drugs, these really stress out your physical system. It's got to work to deal with all of those things, and it stresses you out. So maybe you need to stop doing those things to take stress off. Maybe you need to get a massage once in a while. Who knows? De-stress. Take the stress off. Emotions. What can you do to de-stress your emotions? Maybe you've got a relationship with someone that you're really not getting much benefit from, but it gives you a lot of anxiety and you worry about it a lot. Or maybe you've got some unrealistic self-image that you've put out there for yourself, and you're always comparing yourself to it and making yourself feel bad when you don't get there. What do you need to do to take stress off of your emotions? You'll know the answer to this one. And then finally, what do you need to do to take stress off of your mind, intellectually? Okay, you might worry a lot about things, and maybe there are a few key things that you always worry about. We did some exercises in the very beginning about things that you have in your life where you've opened loops and you don't have closure, or all the things that are on your mind. You might go back to that list. What are the things that you need to do to take stress off of your mind? Go ahead and make those 3 lists right now. Press the pause button and come back, and we'll do the final exercise. And now finally, what do you need to do to bring in what you might call raw renewal materials? The raw materials that your body, your emotions, your mind need to renew themselves. And you need to make 3 lists for this as well. I'll give you a few to get you started. I think the keys for renewal of the body, they start with food, they start with water, they start with breath, they start with exercise, and they start with sleep. Those 5 key things, if you can bring those to your body, it will know what to do with them. Okay, it will take them and it will convert them to healthier, younger looking skin. It will convert them into muscle tone. It will convert them into an immune system that works well, and a cardiovascular system that works well. And use some of the tips that I talked about earlier. Eat small, raw, organic meals that are supplemented with a little bit of cooked food, or other things that maybe aren't as close to raw and organic. Chew your food. Eat the small meal and then let your body completely process it before you put anything else in there. Drink water throughout the day, these types of things. Do them in healthy cycles or healthy routines. Emotionally, what are the raw renewal materials you need emotionally? Well, in this case, you might need closer, more intimate relationships, or you might need to break off a relationship with someone. You might need to start inviting the emotions that you have when you have them, and just recognizing them and stopping and experiencing them. Feel where they're at in your body. Notice how they affect you. Make it okay to have emotions. That might be the issue that you need. Tony Schwartz says that cardiovascular exercise, getting your heart rate up, is the #1 form of emotional renewal, which I find just fascinating. And I always notice that after I exercise, I feel better emotionally. It's a great one. Intellectually, right? Renewing your mind. What do you do there? Well, you need to relax your mind once in a while. You need to stop thinking about things. So just going somewhere and getting into nature and stopping thinking about whatever it is you were thinking about can be very, very powerful. I find that meditation is one of the most powerful forms of intellectual or mental renewal possible, because you relax your mind and then it allows you to be able to focus it, right? Which is the power that our mind really has, to focus on one thing. Another thing that'll help all of these is just getting away more, getting away from whatever it is that you do most of the time. Taking time to go out and get into nature, to go on a trip and go see a place that is not like where you're from, to spend an entire day just laying around and relaxing, so that it gives you the energy you need and the emotional optimism you need and the focus you need when it's time to work. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do is make 3 lists of things that you need to do to bring the raw renewal materials to your body, to your emotions, and to your mind. Once you're finished making that list, it's time to go back through your lists and to take the 1 or 2 from each of these 6 lists and figure out how to get them done. You might need to get some accountability. You might need to create a ritual around them. You might need to get some coaching around them. But it's time to take the stress off of your systems, and it's time to bring the raw renewal materials to your body, your emotions, and your mind, so that they can take care of you. Okay, you gotta admit to yourself that you can't do this stuff with your mind. You can't do it intellectually. You can't just wish it to happen. You've got to bring the building blocks so that your systems can give you the wonderful life that you really, really want. So go ahead and make those lists now. Figure out the issues that you really need to address, and then go build rituals around them. Go get coaching. Go get accountability if you need to, and start addressing these things. Take the stress off and bring in the raw renewal materials. And make sure and come back next week, because this will be the last in this series of Wake Up Productive, and we're going to tie it all together in the final program. Okay, get to work on this stuff, and I will talk to you next week.